Hey, it's Corrine. Thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing another Smashbook page, and I do have a playlist on my channel. If you are interested in all the Smashbooks that I've completed, I do start to finish pages in them, so be sure to check that out. I'm working in the large red Smashbook, and I did a little different orientation this time. I did it in the landscape orientation, which I thought turned out really cute. I was really happy with how this page turned out. I decided to use the last page in it, and I pulled out some scraps of paper from Cartabella's Flora No. 3 collection. Beautiful papers. I did also add a couple papers from Felicity Jane in there as well. I think the B-side papers of Felicity Jane go with so many collections. I love using them. So I just pulled out a few, and I have some ephemera that I'm going to be working with as well here in a minute. I wanted to block off that dark border, so I'm just cutting up some white cardstock and I'm going to add that around the border. I overlap it where it needs to be overlapped because I'm just using 12 by 12 paper, but you don't see that really in the end. You look close enough, you can see where it overlaps, but it doesn't bother me whatsoever. It turned out really well. So I'm using some Beacon Fabri-Tac to adhere that down. And like I mentioned, I just place it down and overlap it, cut off the excess at the end of the page. And I'm just going around all the borders for this. This is, again, just to give me the white border that I wanted. So these Smashbook pages are 13 by 9 3/4, and sometimes I cut them down. Sometimes I, in this case, leave them longer because I want the longer layout of it. I did cut out some scallops, some from white cardstock and some from the pattern paper, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the blue to tie in with the blue matting. This is a beautiful photo of my niece, Kylie Grace. It's a 4x4 photo that I end up cutting down to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then, like I mentioned, I just have some scraps. I also have this piece of cardstock that I printed out, saying that says a sentiment, just a little reminder that you are loved. I love the font on that, and I love the sentiment to go with that photo of my niece. That was a Silhouette Cameo design from their online design store. I'll link that in the description box. It's meant to be a cut file, but you can just simply print it out. So I love this large floral. This one was cut to 11 7/8 by 7.5. And I'm trying to decide if I want a little bit of the white scallop. In the end, I choose just the blue. I thought it popped better behind that beautiful floral. So to adhere that down, I'm just going to go around all the edges with my ATG, and then I'll simply adhere down the scallops, overlap them where I need to overlap them, and then just cut off the excess. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I like to use my Smashbooks as scrapbooks, but you can use them for anything that you want. That you can use them for your artwork, for journaling, for memorabilia, anything you want. I enjoy scrapping photos in them, and I feel like it's a little less strict than maybe a traditional scrapbook page would be. Because of that, you can just kind of tuck in little extra pieces of things that you've saved or things that you like, receipts, anything like that. I really get a lot of enjoyment out of working in my Smashbook pages, and I look back at them a lot. When we have family come over, we tend to go through them. I think this is like the 6th one that I've completed. They're a lot of fun. So this matting I'm cutting down to 4x4. This is, again, another scrap piece that I had, and that's where I decided I needed to cut the photo down to fit in there. So I'm cutting that to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that mats beautifully on that. And now I'm just going to pull out all the scrap pieces that I thought would look nice with this. I cut them to various sizes. The height I cut to 3.5 on all of them because I wanted that to be pretty cohesive. But the width, I wasn't sure how much I wanted to stick out. So some I cut to 1.5, some I cut to 2. And then these 2 floral papers are beautiful from the collection. For this, I'm using my Fiskars trimmer. And there I was just showing you that they are different floral papers and they're both equally just as beautiful. I'm adhering down the photo to my mat. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere down these 2 layers just so it's easier for me to work with. I knew that I wanted that on there, so I figured I might as well get that adhered down right now. And now I'm just kind of tucking in some of those pattern papers. I do go back and add a tiny bit of adhesive to them because they kept wanting to move around as I was placing them. So I do add a little bit of adhesive to just kind of hold them in place until I find what I'm happy with. That frame is a ephemera piece from a Felicity Jane collection, and I wanted that to go on this page, but I didn't like how it looks, so I'll just save that for another project. I have a little bin that I save ephemera pieces that I can easily go in and grab if it works for another project or another Smashbook page, whatever I'm working on. I tend to do that a lot with my mini albums as well. So here's some ephemera that I just keep in a little bowl. All of the ephemera pieces have been backed with another piece of cardstock. I do glue a couple of them on camera, but I like to give stability to them. I like the little bit of dimension to them. So all of them have been backed with some cardstock. So now that I was happy with the layout, I'm going back and adding some glue to make sure this is adhered down well. And I did pull out some flowers from Wild Orchid Crafts. I pulled out a pink and a white, and I thought about folding those over, but instead I just cut them in half and I'll kind of tuck them under the photo mat. I was really happy with how that looked. I liked giving the page a little bit of texture. And now I was happy with that matting, so I put adhesive on all 4 sides, but what I like to do is just remove the adhesive backing from one of the sides, get it in place because you're able to kind of move it around. Once you're happy with it, press that down, then go back and take off the release paper from the last 3 sides, and it's easy to get perfectly aligned. So here's a beautiful journaling card. I end up not using 2 of them. That notes one, but I ended up using that on another project the next day. But this little library card's so cute. That one's from the Felicity Jane, I believe it's the Reagan collection. And that one also was backed with another piece of cardstock. I love that little journaling card. I also use that tag. As you can see, I do end up gluing that down, and I printed out a couple other tags and cut from my Silhouette Cameo. So I'm using partial physical paper pack and then partial digital paper pack. I like to combine the 2 because then I can scale it to size of what I need for the project. So I just pull everything out. I'm just kind of seeing what I like on the page, what I don't like. I did end up loving these flowers, so I added some glue to hold those together. And these little clamps I got from the Dollar Tree, I love using those because they have that rubber on the end of it, so it doesn't stick with whatever you're trying to hold to glue together to give it a minute to dry. I'm gluing down that little notes tab. And here I'm adding this banner shape on top of this label. It says memories. I do end up adding that to the bottom left of the page. The photos, or the flowers rather, I just kind of pulled back that photo mat and tucked it underneath there. And then I'll go back here in a minute and add more glue, since I kind of had to pull that up to tuck it under. Here's some baker's twine that I got from the Dollar Tree. That's like my second or third roll. That lasts forever, and I use that a lot. I tied that to the top of the tag, and in the end, I didn't like how it looked. I wanted a little more color. I didn't love the off-white color that it gave, so you'll see me switch that out in just a minute. So here's where I went back and added some art glitter glue underneath the pattern paper. So I do glue down these two labels together, and I also add one of the yellow flowers from the collection just to tie in that yellow from the top that you'll see me do here in a minute. And once I was happy with that little cluster, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down as well. I do also have quite a few other little ephemera pieces, but that I end up not using, which is fine. I'd rather pull out more and then just kind of go through, see what I like, what I don't like on the page, and save the rest for a different project. So that little heart and that cluster at the bottom, I did add a foam piece behind it just to level it out with the rest of it, so it didn't get bent when the book was closed. Here's the baker's twine that I pulled out from American Crafts, and I'm using the pink and white. I just kind of looped that through after I cut off the old one, the off-white color. I looped that through, and then I'm also going to add on a little bitty bow and adhere that down with some Fabri-Tac as well. I was much happier with that tying in the pink, and then I'll just give that a few minutes to dry. So now I decided I was happy with this cluster here, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down. And being that it has the different layers, I do add some foam tape or foam squares to the middle of it, and then some glue to the rest of it. And that way it balances it out perfectly on my page and sits nicely all at one level. As you can see, I'm not shy with my glue. Just giving you a little bit closer view of that little cluster. And then I'll just place that right on top of that sentiment. Now that I'm happy with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and add some double-sided tape to the entire back and do the exact same thing. Just take the release paper off just the top portion, get it centered as to where I want, and then pull the release paper off the rest of it and adhere it down. I'm also adding some glue to the scallop parts. I like using a decent amount of glue just to make sure nothing goes anywhere over time. Here I pull out some clay hearts. I pulled out some white and pink hearts. I end up not using the white ones because they got a little lost on the page because there is so much white, but the pink ones turned out really cute. I just used a jewel picker and some of that art glitter glue in a fine tip bottle, and that dries clear. Once it dries, it adheres very well. So I'm just clustering those around the sentiment and also on the little library card. And I'll give you a little bit closer look at the page here. I do have another video linked at the end of this one if you're interested. And like I mentioned previously at the beginning of the video, if you like the process videos for the Smashbooks, I have a whole playlist on my channel, so I hope you check that out. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you like to do in your smash book, or if you've ever made your own smash book. And I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.